My biggest challenges are these. I don't know why they keep interacting my interview. What the question was? Where do I see myself? Oh yeah. Uh, yes. So where do you want to see yourself? Slap the Not sort of squeeze. We don't even care about the future. For my day-to-day nini, I use this and this because of this and this. Alafu on the other side I also have this because of this and this. Sawa. Na sai hapa ndio niweze okay sawa. Haya. Mbia nani asikue hater. Sikuwa hivyo man. Na vile nimeng'ang'ana na hii composition. Practice since last week. My name is Cyrus Mwangi. I'm a commercial creative in the media world, specializing mostly in audio, visual, and film production. Sometimes I also go into photography, and I love it. And I'm glad to be here today. I've always been a fan of the creative world. For instance, even in film and music, most of the time I used to research mostly on the behind the scenes rather than the actual film itself or the music video. So as I grew up, I grew a passion in music, and that's how I started music production, hence the name Cyrobeats. I started as a music producer, and then I got employed into a company that had a whole production umbrella. That's from film to audio to events. And from the music production department, I expanded into film, where I learned about cameras, how to put together a project from brief, from an idea to scratch to production, or to post-production to delivery. And years on, I ended up being the person doing the same thing I learned in that experience. Well, I got into it fresh off campus, and that was way back in 2016. So that's probably around close to 9 years, I think. Yes, but professionally, I can say 7 years, because the first years were mostly learning and apprenticeship, where I was learning and working under experts. Yes, as an assistant and all that. As a person who is big in curiosity and creative building stuff, I can say the visual part, the videography part, because it brings up, it's like a sum of all those aspects. It has audio, it has graphics, it has film, it has the storytelling, the script writing, the storyboard. So it's like a whole big umbrella of, like a whole compilation of creative aspects. So that I can say that's my favorite, because once I got into it, it challenged me into an even bigger world, where you have now to think as an audio person, as a camera guy, as the person trying to bring the vision into something someone can watch and understand and pass a message or all that. My lowest point in terms of this profession had to do with, and I think a lot of videographers can relate, the loss of footage before even the editing. Yes, I'll give us a small summary of what happened. It was during the initial stages of my career as an individual, as now doing these as Cyrobeats as myself. So it just happened out of an accident. So it involved a shoot where I was hired to go somewhere, do the work for a few days. We got nice shots, interviews. It was a huge event where people had traveled from all over, so we got interviews of everyone. They wanted to make sure they're in the project. And there I was very passionate with the whole crew and the client and everyone. And then once I got back to Nairobi, I did what you usually do, where you copy all the footage to your backup drives. And then unfortunately, the next day I had another shoot. So I was to work on that after this other shoot, but I carried the drive with me. And then on that shoot, something happened during the day. The drive dropped. It crashed. I tried to revive it. It never worked. And so, yeah, that was a really low point, because it really dents you emotionally, and you have to face everyone you worked with and explain what happened. On top of that, they used a lot of resources to make sure you go there. And if it's a huge event, it's usually something quite, it's something you can't reverse. You know, like there's this joke you usually say when someone is shooting a burial, you might be the videographer, and then when they're putting like the coffin in the soil, you think you're recording, but you're not, and then they do everything, and then you realize you didn't record, and you're like, can we dig them up again, please? So, I mean, it's just a joke, but it was something similar where you can't redo the whole thing. But yeah, that really was a low point for me, and it took a long time to recover. Sometimes it even takes very long for that client to build trust in you again. You can imagine, even if it was you. But I guess it's through such that we learn the proper way to handle footage, handle your gear, handle your work, and make sure everything is done well from start to finish with all the security that you need to make sure everything is successful. Contrary to that, the highest point of career-wise in this field, I can say is initially when I got into videography, because I told you I was fully into audio, as I transitioned into video, mostly it was because of necessity. For instance, in the workplace, they needed a video guy because maybe the crew was needed an extra hand. So that's how I joined in. It wasn't really something I was fully 100% into. But later on, as I started doing the videography work, I started feeling like, well, this is really interesting because you get to shoot sports, you get to shoot wildlife, you get to shoot events, you get to shoot individuals, weddings. So there's a lot of creative inspiration that comes with it. And so fast forward, I was able to venture more into also documentaries. So I can say some of the biggest projects I've been that I've really enjoyed working on were mostly in wildlife, marine, culture stories, different parts of Kenya, and packaging them in a way that tells the story to a different viewer. And I can give an example. Some of them are the projects with Magical Kenya, for example. You know, Magical Kenya is a brand that is used to market the richness of culture, wildlife, and everything, all the magical stuff you find in Kenya as a person in Kenya or as a person visiting. So working in such projects really inspired me. Yeah, and it lit a fire in me that I didn't know was there in terms of just production and focusing a lot on putting these visuals in a larger scale where people can enjoy your work and enjoy what they are watching and relate. The one specific project I can say I really enjoyed a lot working on was a project in Masai Mara with Kenya Tourism Board. So it was a 5-day project. The thing I loved about it most was the amount of good shots you find in a place. There is wildlife shots, of course. There is nature. There is birds. There is the people, the Maasai. We even got to cover a live lion hunt where lions were hunting wildebeest. And from ever since I was a kid, those were things I was only watching on Nat Geo and on TV. So being there and being the one handling it, where it's all you, and you can't lose this footage like you did last time. It was very adventurous and exciting. And yeah, the project was recently posted on the Magical Kenya page. I'll be glad to share it to anyone who would like to see it. It was also involving WRC because it was last year. So it was posted this year as part of, lucky enough, the guys who we were covering in the Mara became the the number 1 and the number 3 in 2025's WRC drivers were part of the crew that we were covering last year in the Mara in that project, because they were doing an experiential thing where we were going with them through the Mara and covering what they're experiencing, from the wildlife to the nature to the hot air balloons. And so when they won this year, it was a nice way of bringing back all that footage and all those edits to show, it's the same guys we had. Here's the footage. And yeah, the project was posted this year and I was so happy to see it again. I can say the highest criticism I used to face when starting out was mostly because of gear. I didn't have the best gear. So sometimes I could do some work and it's all grainy, and then the feedback would be quite negative. Now, I think I did understand it, because also sometimes as a videographer you can tell where your weak points are. But my way around that was, I think I've always, career-wise and role model-wise, I've always had a good people around who are always encouraging me to this day. And they used to tell me, "Wow, usijali, kila mtu, like, don't worry, everyone starts somewhere. Everyone started there. What matters is your skill. Just perfect your skill, and trust me, with any gear you are starting with, as long as your skill is A1 or A+, like the best, you'll get where you want to go." So yeah, my highest criticism was maybe in terms of weaknesses in terms of gear. So photos were not looking nice, videos were not clear and sharp, and you know how good modern cameras are. So, and my way around that was with the help of the role models advising, and that's how I got into work and just kept updating small, a step at a time. Some of the challenges I faced are, I can say, capital in terms of getting funds to buy your own gear, because at first when you're starting you don't have the clients, you don't have enough maybe revenue that will support you logistically and in terms of upgrading or buying new gear. So that was the biggest challenge. The tip I would give someone who wants to venture into this creative space, I'll call it a creative space because you can get into it as a photographer, as a videographer, and it even gets wider. You can be a wedding photographer, wildlife photographer, a niche photographer who focuses on only one thing, same to videography. So my best advice would be always be willing to learn, regardless of who you are looking up to. Trust and believe me, they also started from where you are without zero skill and zero gear, and they worked their way up. So it's very possible. And never give up, and also never get discouraged, because even the best of the best usually make some mistakes, and we all learn through mistakes and we better ourselves through them. So where I see myself 5 years from now, I'd say, is being in a position where I can walk into somewhere like Cameras Africa and pick up gear that I really need without worrying about the price tag. For my day-to-day run and gun shoots, my go-to setup is usually the Canon R6 Mark II paired with a gimbal and a 24-105 lens, or a simple 50mm prime lens for B-rolls. And I like it because it's easy to set up, and most of the time when you're on a run and gun shoot, you don't have enough time to set up your gear. Everything is happening, no one is waiting for you. It's you to get into action and start rolling. So that's why I like those. I usually have a small tripod, a Kingjoy like that one also. I use it also for my mobile shoots. So those are very easy, because even if something is happening and you're in a car, you'll just quickly set up your tripod, the gimbal, balance, and then you just jump out shooting. That's why I like that small setup. And then also on the other hand, I have my classic legendary Lumix GH5. I started with this camera, and it has very good filmmaking capabilities in terms of documentaries. So I still use it to this day, but I always pair it with my high-end Canon lenses. That's why it has an adapter. So for the Lumix camera, I mostly use it whenever we're doing documentaries, and I use it as a B cam. Maybe the A cam sometimes will be a Sony FX6 or any other Sony that's shooting S-Log, or any other camera that has a log profile. So we usually like the Lumix because of its V-log profiles. It also has a very good dynamic range in terms of filmmaking for color and all that. And lens-wise, I usually have a number of lenses, but each has its work. For instance, today I brought the Sigma 150 to 500. This one, I mostly use it in my wildlife and sports shoots during the day. So I have a lot of projects that I've been doing since last year to this year, that involve wildlife, both in Kenya Tourism Board. I've visited a number of wildlife reserves and game parks in Kenya, and this is usually my go-to lens. I think we all know why you need a big lens for that work. And also for audio, although I didn't bring it today, I used the DJI Mic 2, the wireless one I recently got from Cameras Africa. That one I mostly use it for interviews or any setups where I need to get the sound from somewhere into the camera. And yeah, that's basically my simple setup. In case of larger setups, we always outsource gear, you know. If you don't have everything at once, you try use what you have, and if you need more and have the capital to outsource, we do that also. Cameras Africa, equipping storytellers.